It's been a while. So as many or some of you know, I've been touring with rock and metal bands for a few years now. And if you're new here, that's what I do. Now, the thing with that is you're constantly shooting in the lights that you're given. Sorry, I have a cat here. And the footage doesn't really always come out exactly how you're hoping, whether that's because you're with a support act on an outdoor amphitheater tour, or you're doing a headliner set and the lights are just really dark and moody and you just can't quite get it right. I've been experimenting with a tool called Dehancer, and it's not perfect, but it does something that a lot of other plugins and tools don't do, which is it brings back that grit, that texture, that mood. And today I'm going to show you what that looks like using footage that I got from tours with All That Remains and with Imminence. The All That Remains footage, as you'll see, will have some enhancement using Lumetri color, and Imminence will just be straight Dehancer. So you can kind of get a feel for how the plugin acts. Now, for transparency's sake, Dehancer did give me a free trial to make this video. They did not tell me that I have to review it positively or say anything specific about the plugin other than it's a film-like color grading software or like a film emulation software. So there's that. And honestly, I think that's pretty cool that they're willing to take kind of honest feedback about it and, you know, not really make me say anything despite sort of providing me with the product for free. It is, you know, obviously a paid plugin. So anytime you kind of get something for free, especially a really cool tool like this, like it's fun to sort of make a video with it and showcase its use case scenarios. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. So quick context and sort of why this matters. If you shoot bands or live events, you know how unpredictable the lighting and the color can be. Especially in metal where everything's red or blue or blown out or really dark and moody, or there's a bright spotlight but it's dark everywhere else, or it's like not an easy task to always get your exposure perfect and everything about, you know, like your in-camera settings spot on every time. And traditional grading works, but sometimes it feels a bit sterile or overly sort of color graded, or like, you know, just not exactly what you want. And that's kind of what got me interested in Dehancer and really like film emulation plugins as a whole, as I've used several others in the past. As you'll see in these videos, the All That Remains footage is going to be graded using Red Giant, and the Imminence footage is going to be graded using Film Convert, which I think are probably like the two major contenders with Dehancer here. So you'll get a little bit of a comparison with that. Now, I'll also will say that this is not like an in-depth review or, you know, like a perfect comparison video, but it is something to compare against. You know, it's a small use case for if you want to get Dehancer and sort of a first look at it. So let's get into what Dehancer is and what it isn't. It's a film emulation plugin, not a color corrector, not a LUT pack. It emulates the look and feel of actual film stocks, and it has just about every camera model and color profile that you can imagine, or that you really might end up using. So this is really cool because this is something color graders will know. It's not always the easiest thing to convert your footage from log to Rec 709, which is like the gradable format. Now, if you did shoot in Rec 709, there is an option for that. But just having that like vast array of cameras and just knowing that your camera is for sure there and you can very quickly convert from log to Rec 709 is absolutely huge. So if for nothing else, you know, even if you choose to not use the film emulation sort of part of this plugin, this is something that can be really useful. Now, this also isn't a one-click fix. It takes time, and sometimes it takes a little bit too much time. But if you're going for a specific vibe, I think this is one of the most complete tools that I've used. So here's the original Imminence video graded using Film Convert. It's still cool and it still has a film look to it. And here's the same recap run through Dehancer. I pushed some Kodak portrait tones, leading to bloom and halation. It's a bit messier, but in a good way. More like how the moment felt when I was actually standing there. And also kind of leaning into the band's aesthetic and sort of how they like their content portrayed. I also had to use lumetric color over this whole video. So again, that's sort of like a use case scenario where this band is really dark and moody and has sort of a specific vibe and look to their set. So again, this is a scenario where it's not a one-click fix. There are things that you have to do on top of it to get the final look that you're going for. Now, here's the original video for All That Remains using Red Giant. There's some glow layers to make some of the LEDs in the rack case here, kind of pop out and make like a little bit of visual interest, as well as just brighten the image as a whole and kind of give like a dreamy vibe to it, if you will.
Just connection lost, no remorse and goodbyes. I see the devil in your eyes. There's no denying it's real. The warmest smell, but the ice is all I feel. The truth is almost disguised. I see the devil in your
You'll notice that also once I used Dehancer, one of the crowd shots I had to just have black and white. This is because it was just something that was not working within Dehancer, as in Dehancer worked, but the amount of color correcting that needed to go into this shot was not something that could be quickly, instantaneously handled in Dehancer, or even just like, I tinkered with it a good bit and I couldn't get a result that I liked. So I just changed it to black and white, which is not necessarily a problem, but it's not something that you always want to have to do if you didn't nail everything correct in camera, which is, mind you, a big deal for concert photography specifically.
Just connection lost, no remorse and goodbyes. I see the devil in your eyes. There's no denying it's real. The warmest smell, but the ice is all I feel. The truth is almost disguised. I see the devil in your
And yeah, if you've ever looked at your footage and thought this just doesn't feel like it did in the moment, or it's kind of lacking a little bit something, I think that's where this plugin really shines. All right, real talk, quick pros and cons. Starting with the pros. You have very deep control. You can tweak every layer of the emulation from film stock, print stock, gate weave, overscan, you name it, vignette, it has it. Okay, it's everything that you could want from a plugin like this. It's great for story-driven edits. The vibe is really baked into look on these, and I will sort of mention as a side note, if you're doing music videos or documentary or something like that, where you actually have time to like properly set up your camera and get it exactly how you want in camera, I think this will be like absolutely huge for you. Again, where in concert photography, things aren't always perfect. So, that's something you kind of have to bear in mind with this. Next up is it has realistic film grain and options in that, whether that's to add some grit to an otherwise like pretty clean shot, or really leaning into a shot that was like otherwise grainy, banding, or had some kind of issues with it, and you just kind of want to like ruin it. That's sort of a technique that I like to do when there's something wrong technically with the shot, but right compositionally or right movement wise with it. Like if there's something I really like about the shot, but it's technically incorrect, sometimes I'll kind of overdo it. And, that's sort of a way to get the most out of what you've shot. Now, some quick cons. Most importantly, I'd say it's just slower workflow in general. It's not super quick, and if you're picking it up for the first time, you're gonna have a little bit of a learning curve to it. So it's not something that I'd recommend, say like, oh hey, I just landed a tour, I'm leaving tomorrow, I'm gonna pick up this plugin, and we're just gonna roll with it. Like, you will probably learn it after a couple weeks of tour, but like, maybe your first few videos, like, it's not gonna be exactly how you want. So it is something that you wanna take the time to learn before you jump straight into it. This one is semi-nitpicking, but would be a change that I would love to see kind of integrated into it. This isn't a very visual plugin, as I'll show you. It's a lot of like words, numbers, values, sliders, stuff like that. Whereas if you compare it to something like DaVinci Resolve or even Red Giant, there's like color wheels and sort of like creative aspects to it that I feel like make a lot of sense for a plugin that is used to color grade footage. I would love to see a little bit more of like a visual component to it. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a bad enough thing that I would put it into like a con for this. The last con is you're still gonna need to use something like Lumetri Color or DaVinci Resolve for any sort of like color correction, or really to just like dial in that final grade. This is not something that's always going to be your fault if we're talking like concert videography. And I don't think that the company makes a claim that this is like a one-click plugin, because like even using it, it's very obvious that it's not. So again, not exactly fully 100% a con, but it is worth mentioning that you're not just going to click this and be like, oh boom, there's my grade. Sometimes you are, but not every time. So closing thoughts. I don't think Dehancer is a must on every single project, but when I'm working on something that really needs to have a certain look to it, or have that sort of film like vibe look into it, or feel like a memory, it's definitely a plugin that I'm just gonna run straight to. As I've mentioned too, I've used a lot of different color grading, film emulation sort of plugins in the past. And I think this is definitely the best of them, since it really gives you full control over just your entire look. So, definitely use this over a LUT pack. I would say, like, for example, Red Giant, it's like almost hard to put it in the same category because it's like a VFX suite. So there are things that you have access to within that just like aren't included in Dehancer, and I wouldn't expect them to be. I wouldn't expect it to have a glow setting. I wouldn't expect it to have sort of like text presets, or like a hologram preset that you can tweak pretty in depth. Like, it's just not things that I'd expect. This is strictly in the color space. So if you're looking for something that does absolutely everything, like probably Red Giant is that case. But if you're looking just for like color space sort of stuff, Dehancer is definitely the best. It, I think, blows film convert out of the water. There's a few other programs out there that I think are pretty cool. And if you want a more in-depth comparison or something, let me know. Now, if you feel like you'd like to add this film emulation plugin to your arsenal of plugins, LUT packs, whatever you got, and sort of want a little nudge in this direction, Dehancer has given me a code that I'm gonna share with you to use for a small discount on their product. The code is Nevermore. Yeah, just pop that in the discount code during checkout and you'll get 10% off your order. So yeah, whether you're shooting backstage, on tour, or just trying to make your footage look like it kind of came out of a sensor readout, or it came out of one of those old school cameras, I think this is the plugin for you. If that's not something you're looking for, then it's not for you. But yeah, if you guys want more videos like this, want more like in-depth on Dehancer, let me know. Drop it in the comments and I'll make that video. But for now, this is the end. Once again, Nevermore at checkout. If you feel like doing that, I do get a small percentage of that. So, if you feel like supporting me for whatever reason, definitely throw that in there. Yeah, that's it.